Okay, I don't know how to play this. I feel like I'm a reggae band following a combination EDM and heavy metal. um, so maybe a little bit of a shift in tempo. And also, I'm going to pull back from the future, like a whole bunch, and pretend that we're right here, right now. Okay? So issues that are real and present and significant, that's where I'm trying to play this card right now, where the rubber meets the road, let's say. First of all, Warren, thank you for inviting me. This is personal for a couple of reasons. One is, thank you for coming to my home. I live here in Chiang Mai. My company is domiciled here in Chiang Mai. Lucid Studios, I'm co-founder, and I'm the inventor of a device some of you have bumped into called the neuroVIZR. Secondly, the theme and the attitude. I've been a lifelong meditator, a Hindu teacher, Taoist teachers, and the past 30 years, Tibetan Dzogchen. So anything that rolls non-dual is sort of in my, my swim lane. Okay, there are basically two things I try to hit today. This is a short thing, about 25 minutes or so. So every one of these slides, like the gentleman said, it could be a whole day of talk. So apologies if it's a little oversimplified, but that's the way we'll get through it. These are the, I have to make sure which one I'm pointing here. These are the two that I want to hit today. One opens up to the other. Brain signal variability is a hot number in neuroscience right now. The whole issue of complexity is a hot number. And I'm hoping to show how this lays the basis for what I'll call a high energy brain reset. I'm talking about wet brains, messy brains, the one we have right now, not digital. Okay. Here's a premise. My premise is a brain that can change. When change is required, that's a healthy brain. And I mean micro change, meso change, macro change, like one of the basic changes in the circadian cycle. It's called now I'm awake, now I'm asleep. I won't ask, but I bet a whole bunch of you in here aren't exactly optimized in your sleeping. And stress and. So yeah, I'm not so much of a futurist as is this even a word? I'm a presenterist, I don't know, like right here, right now. Okay, you know, I'm preaching to the choir here, so I apologize. This is obvious that our brains are not mechanical. I'm sorry, they're not even digital. I don't know about that one. I'd be willing to sit and talk, but not right now. I do know that our brain, the one I have at least, is very complex, it's wet, and it's very messy. This is a big shift because a lot of our biology has been based on our physics. You know, cybernetic systems, you want as clear a signal as possible. You don't want all that complexity. Why? We even call it noise. All right? So what constitutes noise and what actually is just complexity? Most of you know about this famous experiment. This guy, Lorenz, early computer simulation, yeah, it could be a lot faster now, but he was simulating weather systems. And you know, it's like, oh man, just too many decimal points. 6 decimal points, screw it, it won't make a difference. I gotta hurry this up. I'm gonna nail only 3, we can drop the other 3, it's too inconsequential. Ran the system, came back, yeah, the computers were slow. The system was wildly radical and irrelevant because, guess what? That wasn't noisy shit. That was actually subtle, complex information. This is really a critical issue because is an elephant big? Yeah. Is a mouse small? Yes. Well, compared to what? Compared to the human body. That we're relativists. What degree of complexity we measure by our body and the speed of our own mind. So we have to be careful. I think everybody here is probably clearly aware of HRV now, heart rate variability, right? The idea that if your heartbeat is 60, you think, well, if there's 60 seconds in a minute, there must be 1 beat per minute. If your rate is 1 per second, equal periodicity, you're on the verge of a heart attack. That there has to be variability, very subtle adaptability. And this is why the emphasis has shifted away from stability, regularity to adaptive complexity. You're like, what's going on? Why does there have to be a difference between each heartbeat? Because that's and this is in many decimal points, 3, 4, 5, 6 decimal points, if you want to go that far. What's the deal? Why should you think it should be regular? Like my car with the pistons, I want it to be, I don't want it like that with my pistons. I want it to be mechanically very regular. So I would think if my heart is a pump and I've got pump for water, that pump should be regular, not jumping off its foundation. But guess what? It needs to be variable, or else you die. Brainwaves. A lot of discussion these days about brainwaves. I have to say, I think we're on the verge of a massive mistake that we're transporting and transferring the magic pill philosophy into the magic frequency philosophy. We talk about brainwaves. The brainwaves that we talk about, these are mathematical lies. They don't exist. 40 hertz doesn't exist except very occasionally once in a while. Brainwaves, they're not whole integers. You know, when we talk about something like 8 or 12 or 10 hertz, you know, oh my God, you know, God is alpha waves, all this kind of stuff. In actuality, it all depends on your algorithm. You put an EEG on the head, it's an explosion of data. What's the outcome? The dude or the AI that did the algorithm. The algorithm says, you know what? Shit, too complicated. It's not meaningful. Let's just average it. Because actually, say 10 hertz is really 9.732247, right? 10.72354444. And we think, that's just noise. It's not noise, it's information. Up until recently, most of the EEG algorithms have been throwing away all that noise, like we did with heartbeats for a long time, and missing the point. This is why I'm talking today about brain signal variability, BSV. As much as you know and have heard about HRV, BSV is going to roll over that in terms of critical importance. Yeah, I'm talking about your brain and my brain right now. I wish everybody a good future, but here we are. I won't tell the whole story, but I was raised a farm boy in Canada, and one night, deep in the winter, full moon, cloudless sky, fresh snow, 1 a.m. in the morning at 17, I went walking in the fields, and it was impossible to describe. Everything was shimmering. The walking in the snow, no foot had ever been there. It was pure virgin. And the moonlight, kind of a blue tinge. The snow was an infinite prism of pink and green and blue and yellow and just twinkling, shimmering. Your brain, my brain, is shimmering right now. It's shimmering. And the degree of complexity is unimaginable. Say hello. You're going to be thinking an awful lot more about brain signal variability. See if I can show you why, and even better, how to have more of it. Okay. We talked about HRV, but you have to understand that the variability in your brain is tremendously more expanded than the heart. I'm just putting up the typical 10 that are being looked at right now. All the different ways of looking at change. I said earlier, a brain that can change when change is required is a healthy brain. Change, variability, complexity, different words, all about the same thing. Of this bunch, the two that are really the most accessible, and by the way, we have algorithms now that we know we want to measure this shit, pardon me, this stuff, now the algorithms are being tuned to report it instead of trashing it. And of them, whole brain variability and network variability are rising to the top in terms of utility. They're really, really insightful and powerful in terms of what they tell you. BSV, network variability and limbic. These are gaining big avenues of understanding how to have a healthy brain. Aging. Every one of us in this room is aging. See this arrow going down? In aging, normative aging, the cognition is going down because the variability is going down. The brain activities are becoming increasingly more ordered and repetitive, and the periodicity is shutting down. Oh, at the same time, in the limbic system, the variability is going up. So what does that kind of point towards? I have to say it is pretty simple. You get old, you can't think very well, but your emotions are out of control. Not my science. It's what's happening right now in neuroscience. This study posted out of MIT is 6 months old. And it's mapping the different elements in executive function. You know, the stuff that you need to be smart and make sense of the world. This is birth, that's at 90. Guess when you peak? Anybody here around their mid-40s? It's as good as it gets. Unless you do something about it. We have to remember, our brain is physical. Yeah, wet and messy, physical. And as physical as my heart, as my spine, as my hamstring muscle. And as a physical organism, it will respond to stimulation. We'll call it exercise. It will respond. So, there's an age spread here. Maybe if you're 45, maybe you have kids, maybe you have parents, maybe still some grandparents. This is what's happening. And guess what? As your brain signal variability drops down on average, these are all incredibly directly linked to not only cognitive decline in general, but dementia. Industrialized countries around the world right now, if you're between the age of 80 and 85, it's a coin flip. It's roughly a 50-50 chance of dementia. It is epidemic. It is epidemic. Sorry, that's the stat. Against the background of the fact that in the same countries, depending on the country, roughly 1 out of 7 people are taking pharmaceutical antidepressants. That's not counting the anti-anxiety meds. That's not counting the pain meds. That's not counting the sleep meds. I'm very hopeful about the future, but if we suck at the present, the future is not that reliable. So right now, it doesn't have to be any different than those of us in the room right now. So, how do we exercise? How do we stimulate an adequate level of brain signal variability? How do you do it? We can do it. I'm borrowing from a few different points of view right now, so I apologize in the beginning that this is 25 minutes of like little tippy toe off the top of the mountains here. We're not going into the valleys. Some of you know this, you're smiling right away. This is Rebus, this is out of Carhart Harris and Carl Friston, the psychedelic research arm of Carhart Harris. Imperial, now he's at Berkeley, of course, why not? It's an acronym, Relax Existing Beliefs Using Psychedelics, very sloppy acronym. Beliefs, habits, patterns, fixations. The name of this presentation, as short as it is, a little kind of a reggae beat, could be How to Unstick a Stuck Brain, Latches. Yeah, how to unstick a stuck brain, because call it a belief, call it a habit, a pattern, a fixation. What's recognized in the psychedelic world is that something can be done to the brain for a short period of time that allows the system to relax. I won't say latches, I'll say glue right now. That there's a lot of glue, neurological, maybe even specifically amyloid, but let's just call it glue as a metaphor. There's a lot of fixation in your brain, your brain, your brain, your brain, my brain. And predictive coding, we can call it, stubborn priors. You can do anything you want with it, but some stuff doesn't move well. And techniques that should work, technology that should work, doesn't work. Why? Because it goes straight for the throat. It goes for the change before softening the glue. You got to soften the glue of fixation, of habit, of pattern, of beliefs. How do we do that? By the way, you see I've amended the acronym. One, it pleases me. I'm a Virgo. It's an S. That works. But the point I want to make is this. I'll say it this way to jump from Carhart Harris. All psychedelic compounds are, getting a ring here, psychoactive agents. I'll repeat it. All psychedelic compounds are psychoactive agents, but not all psychoactive agents are psychedelic compounds. I very much enjoy the new field of neuroanthropology. They have a lovely concept. They say that our brain has innate neurognostic structures. Gnosticism, mystical knowledge, neurognostic structures are innate to the brain. The way I put it, and I'll talk a little bit more in a bit, is I say we have an ordinary mind and we have an extraordinary mind. Normal, natural, healthy. And once in a while, we have to move from ordinary cognition and information processing. She's giving me high fives, that's great. Oh, you mean 10 minutes? Oh, okay, I don't know. I thought it was just like, yeah, okay. Psychoactive agent. I use light and sound, particularly crafted in a dynamic way, to act as a psychoactive agent. This is the therefore. Not only does BSV exist, and it's radically important, if you want to see straight, think straight, be in love, do the things you got to do, that there is a way of increasing your likelihood of sustaining a higher, better functional level of BSV. Here I'm calling it high energy brain reset. Kudos to Mike. There's your neural annealing buddy. These are just different perspectives on the same dynamic functionality. Meaning you can come in, soften the glue, and move the brain up into elevated neurodynamics for a period of time. And in that state, the brain has appetite, it's impressionable, and it's willing to accept new information that may be contrary to your former habits, beliefs, and fixations. It's a chance to unstick your brain, not only unstick it, but to give it new healthy food, new imprintable information. So Call it what you want. I call it a high energy brain reset. Yeah, I don't mean energy like, you know, esoteric alien or kundalini or something, but that's also probably the game. It's just that there's a high level of stimulation in the system, this extraordinary state. Here, and you know, it's real cubic, so you know, pardon the simplicity of it. This is the model of entropic brain model from Carhart Harris. It's one of the ways of looking at it. And what you'll see here is that there is this metastable transitional consciousness. Here, this is where we are right now most of the time, assuming you're not tripping your ass or you're seeing God at the moment. I don't know, but most of us are here right now. Carhart Harris says this is secondary consciousness. It's not the primary evolutionary consciousness. The baby, the LSD baby, was it you that said that? That this primary consciousness is the pure bottom-up flood of information. And to organize it through evolution, our brain developed a higher cortical, ordinary brain, second consciousness. So what do we need to do to have a chance to improve the variability function of our brain? Kind of looks like that. There are a number of ways of moving out of ordinary consciousness through the criticality. Critical is like when water turns to ice or water turns to steam. It's a point where things change. And I would love to go into it. I've got about 6 more minutes. That there's a whole range of neuroscience that focuses on criticality. Criticality. Real fast. Your brain is a 20-story building. On the bottom floors, high order, low variability. On the top floors, yeah, a lot of variability and a lot of dynamic freedom. You own the whole building. Where do you sleep? What's your level? On what floor do you call home? Because there's an elevator, you can go up and down. What floor? Mike, give it a shot. What floor do you want to live on? You got 1 to 20. He says 15, and I agree with him. 15. Actually, you would think maybe it should be 10. No, neurologically, we have to be at a higher set point for faster reactivity. That when things happen, a brain that can change, when change is required, that's a healthy brain. But you have to be at a higher level of readiness. It's a gorgeous name. It's almost as good as connectome harmonic, right? It's called the sweet spot of criticality. That's where you should be your set point. And you can go down, call it relaxation, call it sleep, or you can go up, call it creativity, exploration, new learning. But we have to sit at that point, and guess what? Now, realizing that there are algorithms, it doesn't have to be an fMRI, it can be EEG, that can make an evaluation if you are sitting in and out of that, or is your sweet spot not so sweet anymore? Are you forced to live on the 9th floor? You had an accident, maybe a brain injury, maybe a disease, too much stress, shit happens, you're getting old, whatever it is, and you've got to move down. The view is not so good on the low floors. So what I'm proposing is that there are methods some of them are yogic, some of them are temperature regulation extremes, some of them are fasting, some are meditation, some are psychedelic, some are technological. That's what I do. Turn it on, turn it off. It's around Monday. It's not a product pitch. I love the science. I love consciousness. And that's why I do this. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at the Alt Center. Team from my company are there if you want to do it. Otherwise, thank you. All right. Yes. I live here. I do wild animal conservation work with apes here in Thailand. So that's Oscar. All right. All right. Okay. If you are Mike. Thank you.
Beautiful talk, and I really appreciate what you're doing. Have you given some thought as to how to track the brain's sort of energy parameter over time?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Right now, we're a new company and we're a startup, so we're always filling our bowl and then starving the next day. The product, the device itself, has been on the market only within this year. We've had an observational study in California. 2 or 3 days from now, I'm finishing a study in Latvia, of all places. So, of course, the evidence there, and this is the thing. This is the thing, that there's so much stuff you can do out there, but to me it's boring. I'm not interested in whether a certain state has been achieved, a certain brainwave is there. I want to see the ability to change. I want to see the delta dynamic. Right now you can sit there, but I'd like to see you stand up, sit down, do a push-up, and sit down again. I'd like to see the brain do that. So we're very interested in tracking. We're very interested in real-time interaction. Very interested in what AI can do to help us. But right now, we think we've hit the gold mine. I've been doing this for 8 years on developing this tech. Everybody says, where's your research? I said, well, first of all, give me some money. But other than that, I didn't know where to target the research. I knew it started off with neuroplasticity. I knew that. And I have a psychedelic background. I knew that. And I'm blah, blah, blah. I work with a lot of esoteric devices and I design them and so on. I didn't know where to put the spotlight. Now I do. It's brain signal variability. I've already gotten good results showing what's called permutation entropy, that the sessions bounce. The entropy is like sloppy BSV. So yes, and just about any other question about what we'd like to do, I would say yes, but that's where we are.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir, back there.
So I know that with just psychedelics and higher energy meditations, there becomes a whole other layer of kind of complexity in terms of what can go wrong.
Yes.
If you've been doing Kundalini meditations for a long time and then take a regular dose of mushrooms or something, things can be a lot more finicky.
Sure.
So how do products like yours play into that?
Yeah. I got it. Thank you. At the time of the highest annealing, at the heated up brain, the brain in high variability, not only is that a time to move things around, that is the time to deliver an imprint. That's the time, I'll get you fasting for 5 days and you'll eat that raw kale and guess what? It'll taste good. That you create an appetite. The brain wants signal recognition. It's a pattern-seeking organism. So if you take that away and you put it into a position where it's hypersensitive and very hungry, that's the time to slip in what I call the vector of the theme. That's the time to drop in where you want to go. So it's the best we can do is create probability states. That's the best. But what makes us different than a psychedelic is that we're able, not only is it short and controllable, which is fantastic, but we're able to drop in, that set and setting element of psychedelics is actually part of the technical signal design. So when you're hungry, guess what? 5-course meal. Then we do some conflict added to test it. Then we do some reward and reinforcement. There's a very clear methodological process here. It's not just a bunch of flickering light with Celtic harps or some damn thing. Okay. He says, I'm full up to here. No, we're right on schedule, man. Okay, thank you all very much. We're around. Welcome to Chiang Mai. Okay.